What's up, everyone? It's Denise Salcedo. Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It is Tuesday, February 6th, and it is time to get into this week's edition of NXT. As you guys know, today was the Fallout from Vengeance Day, which was a pretty damn good show. If you guys missed the post show for that, myself and Reg, we did that. That's here up on the channel. But now we got to talk about everything else that went down since that night here tonight. And we have a lot to get into, especially regarding Carmelo Hayes and, of course, the champion, Ilya Dragunov. And we got some things to get into. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I had some mixed feelings about the way the show ended, and we're going to get right into that. But first, I want to go ahead and thank Sheldon Jackson, as always, for gifting 5 DWO memberships. And speaking of the DWO, we got Steven here who says, Denise, who do you see making the jump to the main roster? So I feel like we're always talking about guys, especially when it comes to this, and Braun Breaker is obviously one that we know is on the horizon. They've been teasing that, and we've been seeing it play out on Raw and SmackDown. So he's very, very close. It's just a matter of what brand. But I'm going to go ahead and give a name that I was just thinking about today that I feel would be phenomenal on the main roster. This person still has a lot more to do on NXT, but let's say they bypassed all of that and just decided to send this person to the main roster. You would not hear any complaints from me, and that is actually Fallon Henley. I love Fallon Henley, and I feel like she's gotten just so confident, and we're going to talk more about her in just a second, but she's a name that I don't think has been said enough, and I do think she is pretty ready now for the main roster. Of course, she still has a lot to do on NXT, so you keep her on NXT, move her to the main roster, whatever you decide, I feel is A-okay with me. All right, so we got to get into the show, everybody. So I want to start things off with Carmelo Hayes and what went down. And like I said, guys, I had mixed reactions about this one. So I'm curious to see what you guys are going to say. So Carmelo Hayes, as we know, finally had the turn on Trick Williams. We all knew that this was coming at some point. We just didn't know how and when they were actually going to execute it. Now, they did a really good job with the execution at Vengeance Day. I loved it. I thought they did a really good job of making me think that for a second it wasn't going to happen, and then it did. And even though we had seen it coming from outer space, miles and miles away, even with the way that they did it, I was still pleasantly emotional during it. I felt like they pulled the emotions out of me. And so with that being said, it was definitely 2 thumbs up. It was definitely a hit. But now, today they had been promoting that they were going to have Carmelo Hayes come out and do his explanation. And they really made us I guess you can say work for it, because at one point I thought we weren't going to get an explanation for today, because Carmelo Hayes kicks off the show and he goes out there and he's getting this massive amounts of heat. The heat is good, everybody. The people are pissed. The people want to boo this man, and he is just taking it all in. So he looks really cool. The outfit that he was wearing today was perfect for what he had to do here tonight. So he goes out there and he sits in this chair and he just tells us, not now. And he leaves. That was it. And I'm going, what? Don't tell me that's the only thing we're going to get out of this segment. And so I was thinking damn, oh my God, what am I going to talk about on this post show if that's all he's going to say and we're going to have to wait until next week? But then later on in the show, now keep in mind, this played out throughout the entire show, everybody. So that was just the first part. The second part in this was the Ilya Dragunov portion of this, because Ilya Dragunov went out there to the ring and called out Carmelo Hayes and wanted Carmelo Hayes to basically go out there, because Ilya Dragunov is pissed off. He has a bone to pick for the fact that Carmelo Hayes was placing all of this blame on Ilya. He was blaming him for supposedly being the one to do the attack on Trick Williams in the first place. And then he was blaming him, saying that he had done all of these mind games on Trick Williams when all of us knew that that wasn't true. So he calls out Carmelo Hayes, but Carmelo Hayes does not come out. Instead, we get Dijak. Now, Dijak is coming off of a pretty damn good victory over at Vengeance Day, in which he defeated Joe Gacy. Now, we had this really cool moment between Ilya Dragunov and Dijak here, and I was happy for this because even though I was still figuring, like, expecting them to, like, tie up the loose ends with Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov in this particular scenario where he had said that he was pissed off about him accusing him of all of these things, I figured, oh, they're going to tie it up and whatever, but he's going to go and finally start to move on to other things. And the first other thing was Dijak. And Dijak and him get into each other's face. I really enjoyed that because it was new, it was something different, and it ends up with both of these guys like fighting each other to the point where like staff and security has to come out and pull these guys apart. So I'm sitting here going, hell yeah, finally, now that this is what I was thinking, guys. This is what I was thinking. I was thinking, finally, now that Ilya Dragunov is not having to take a back seat to this Carmelo Hayes Trick Williams storyline, he can finally go out there and start having good, like having different matches with different competitors, because I really felt as of a couple weeks ago, I personally felt like Ilya Dragunov was really just taking a back seat to the Carmelo Hayes Trick Williams storyline, which was fine because, you know, I wanted to see it play out, and we did. We saw it play out. So I thought today we were going to start moving in a new direction for Ilya and let Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams handle their business while we finally see Ilya Dragunov move on to something different. Well, my friends, I'm going to wrap up this portion first before I wrap up the Carmelo Hayes portion, because there's a lot in here that sort of intertwines. All right, so they made a match between Ilya Dragunov and Dijak. That was the main event. But before we get to the main event, we have to talk about the Carmelo Hayes promo in all of this, because midways throughout the show, we finally get Carmelo Hayes and he comes out again, and I'm going, what the hell is going on? He comes out first, decides he doesn't want to say anything, goes to the back. Ilya Dragunov calls him out. He doesn't come out. And now he's going back out there again. And I'm like, okay, a little bit weird, but fine. I'll roll with it. I like to try new things. I'll try to think outside the box. Cool. So we get this phenomenal promo, by the way. This was my favorite part in all of this. And Carmelo Hayes finally reveals the things that we have been waiting for him to reveal. One is that he did indeed attack Trick Williams, which we all absolutely knew, all right? The other thing is that he explained why. Now, according to him, he is supposedly not jealous of Trick Williams. Again, I want to emphasize the supposedly not jealous of Trick Williams. According to him, Trick Williams broke a promise to him. According to Hayes, this is Trick Williams' fault because they had made an agreement for Carmelo Hayes and him that Trick Williams would be going after the NXT North American Championship and that Carmelo Hayes would be going after the NXT Championship. Now, according to Carmelo Hayes, everybody got into Trick Williams' head and he broke that promise, and now he was basically going to bring them back down to earth because they are not on the same level, and Hayes just does not see them on par with one another at all. And so that's the promo that we get here. And throughout this entire time, like, the people are just like mad and angry at Carmelo Hayes. It was very, very good. So I love the way that they worked that whole thing out. But then we get to the main event. There was two things that I didn't totally love about this, all right? So the main event, Ilya Dragunov versus Dijak. Now, the match itself was very entertaining. They were going out there kicking each other's butts. I mean, Ilya is slapping him. He's chopping him. He is trying to beat this man down. Now, keep in mind that Dijak is a lot larger in size than Ilya, so it looked very, very freaking cool. So they're going out there. They're having this battle. At one point, Ilya Dragunov goes for the Constantine special, and instead, freaking Dijak ends up avoiding it and giving him like this massive clothesline. So I really loved this match up until the point where Joe Gacy comes out from underneath the ring and hits Dijak with a stick that has like a little boxing glove at the top and literally hits him. So then Dijak goes back into the ring from the hit and ends up taking an H-bomb from Ilya Dragunov. Ilya Dragunov and the referee never ever saw Joe Gacy get involved in this at all. And so Ilya hits his H-bomb on freaking Dijak and wins the match. But I'm sitting here going, damn, I'm finally excited that we're starting to see some new opponents, some new fresh matchups for Ilya Dragunov in his NXT Championship reign. And you got Joe Gacy getting involved in this? No, you do not do that to Ilya Dragunov. No, Ilya Dragunov, obviously Ilya Dragunov was more than capable of winning this match on his own. But with the incorporation of Joe Gacy, it made it take away from not only the match, but it took away from Ilya Dragunov's dominance. It made him look like he was like fooled. It made him look fooled in this match, that he didn't see that another man helped him get the job done. You don't do that to Ilya Dragunov. He's not that kind of a champion. So now, for those of you who watch my NXT post show, you guys know what a fan I am of Ilya Dragunov. So I don't want to see this type of finish for an Ilya Dragunov match. Like, clearly, once he hit his H-bomb, great. We knew he wasn't going to come, Dijak wasn't going to kick out of that for sure. But again, you had the incorporation of Joe Gacy in this. And for me, that was a big no-no. I was out on that. So I was not a fan of that Joe Gacy incorporation of this. Now, the other thing that I wasn't too fond of, and the only reason I'm not too fond of it, and I'm going to learn to love it, it'll be fine because you guys already know how I feel, but I feel like we've been there, seen it, done that 3 times already with Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes, guys. Now, everyone here that has watched my NXT post shows, my NXT watch-alongs, my NXT whatever it is that I do here, knows how much I love the matches between Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov. I never shut up about them. With that being said, it's looking like we're going to go for this again, and it's looking like they're going to be telling another story between these two, or not rather another story, but continuing all of this. And we've already seen them wrestle 3 times. I kind of felt like we had gotten so much there that now I feel like we're going to circle back to it, and it kind of feels like they're overdoing it, overplaying this out, when you really had a really nice special trilogy there with Ilya and Carmelo, that I don't want to go to it so soon. In 2 years, sure, I would love to see them revisit this, but it's so soon. And the reason why it looks like this is definitely happening is because after Ilya Dragunov defeated Dijak, he was celebrating with his championship, but he ends up getting taken out by Carmelo Hayes, who comes from behind him and takes him out, hits him in the back of the knee, just like he did to Trick Williams. And then he gets the NXT championship and he hits Ilya Dragunov in the face. Now, this may not be a one-on-one match. This may be Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes versus Ilya Dragunov. They may be doing a triple threat or whatever it is that they're doing, but it just really feels like there aren't very many other options for Ilya Dragunov, and that's the part that's kind of like, ooh, I would like to start seeing some new players get involved in the NXT Championship picture while they coincidentally tell this story with Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. So that's where I'm at on everything that went down here. Let's see what you, the people here, are saying. Let's get this. All right. So this seems like a lot of people are kind of agreeing and also expecting some sort of triple threat match here between these three guys, which is pretty much what. But see, like, I wouldn't mind it, but I definitely just want to see Ilya Dragunov at least go in there and compete with other people's, because if his reign ends at NXT Stand and Deliver and really the only people we saw him wrestle were Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, I don't know. I just feel like that wouldn't necessarily be enough. Like, I want to see him wrestle other people. But here we go. Let's see what people are saying. This one's from Benoit Richter, who says, about Mello, Lady Gaga said it. It doesn't matter if you love him or capital H-I-M. He was born this way. I appreciate the laugh. Thank you so much, Benoit. I appreciate the joke there. That was good stuff, actually. And we got some people saying there isn't anyone else, though. And see, so earlier we had a comments that I wanted to read from someone. Let me see if I can pull it up. By the way, guys, as I go through this, feel free to send in your thoughts here. Here we go. This one's from TJ Smooth Zero, and I had seen this comment right before I logged on. And this was something that I had mentioned already on previous shows. But TJ Smooth says, realize tonight that there's no main event level men's challengers for Ilya except Trick and Carmelo Hayes. They've done a great job with the women, but the men's division needs some guys elevated. It is thin at the top. I have pointed this out a while back on this show because we're constantly talking about how there's all these girls that can be NXT champion at NXT women's champion at some point in time. And with the men, it feels a lot more slimmer. So actually, let me pull up the roster here, because really, when you think about it, okay, so I'm gonna go through this list, guys. Let's look at the men that they have. All right, Andre Chase. He is doing all this silly, hokey stuff with Chase U. So we're not necessarily expecting to see him in the title picture. All right, Axiom and Baron Corbin. They're currently doing the tag team stuff. You got Braun Breaker, who was a former champion, and so he's already kind of past that. We know he's moving to the main roster, and he's just finishing out this story that he's doing right now. We'll talk more about that later. Carmelo Hayes, who's already in the title picture. Brooks Jensen, who's lost. Damon Kemp, who's just hanging out with all of these other quarter catch crew guys, whatever the hell they call themselves. Dijak, who we just saw him wrestle here today. Drew Gulak, same thing, quarter catch crew guy, whatever the hell they call themselves. I keep forgetting the name that they do. Duke Hudson, Chase U guy. Eddie Thorpe, they were giving a little bit of movement to him, but nothing much, or nothing that has really elevated him to the top of this roster. Idris Sanofi, tag team guy. Gable Steveson, haven't even seen him. Let's see who else they have here. Hank Walker, Joe Gacy, who we're seeing, Joe Coffey, Javier Bernal, Josh Briggs. Lexus King is probably the only person right now that I'm looking at that just needs to kind of get out of what he's been doing right now. I mean, he's been going out there and getting wins, so actually that's a good thing. So keep getting them wins, because so far right now, Lexus King looks like the only person that could probably be in that freaking title picture soon. You got Malik Blade, tag team guy. You got Mark Coffey. Let's see, who else do we see? Obafemi, your NXT North American champion. Or Menzo, we haven't seen too much of. Riley Osborne's just starting to make a name for himself. And then you have Scripps, who's with OTM. Tank Ledger, who's tag team again. And then Trick Williams. And then Wesley is out due to injury. Tony D, who's your champion. And then Wolfgang. There is nobody. Guys, Lexus King is really the only option. Holy shit. Like, you kind of already knew that, but now just kind of running through the men's NXT roster, it's like a totally, like, I already knew that, but I hadn't gone through all of the names in particular. And now that I just went through the entire roster for the NXT men's, yeah, there's no other option. So I'm sitting here going, like, I want to see him wrestle new people. Who? Who? I sound like an owl, but seriously, who? There's only so many options. God dang, guys, I can't believe it. All right, so they definitely need to work on the men's division. There you go. That's the headline of the day. Make more stars for the NXT men's division because it is freaking slim. All right, let's see what people are saying. We got Stephen Marchulli here who says Lexus King is the one to beat Dragunov for the bout down the line. If and only if we got to send Dragunov to the main roster, all right? They need to stop playing around, having him on NXT when we know damn well that Ilya Dragunov is a main roster caliber talent. So at some point, that needs to happen because if I'm sitting here talking about Ilya Dragunov on NXT in 2 years, that's not, no. We need to get this man on the main roster. And I know everybody's always talking about size. I know, but damn, this man makes up for it with his in-ring ability. Definitely does. Thank you so much to Steven. We got Jay Stone here. Thank you so much for this generous super chat. Jay says, I came on here when Ilya won the title and mentioned putting the belt on him was interesting because who could realistically challenge him? And now we're kind of seeing this play out. Jay, and if you remember the second you said that, I was like, dude, yes, because again, other than Carmelo Hayes, like there really wasn't anybody else. And again, we saw them do that trilogy, and finally seeing Ilya defeat Carmelo was the big moment. It was the moment. So I feel like, okay, well, what can you do here? What can we do to give Ilya Dragunov's reign more substance? We have seen them bring main roster talent. That could be another option. I mean, if you're going to have a main roster talent guy lose to anybody, especially one that's not so high up there, I'm talking about like the low card on the main roster. If you bring somebody from there to NXT and they lose against Ilya Dragunov because Ilya Dragunov is the type of competitor that he is, I personally would not see that as a like, I wouldn't see that as a bad thing for the main roster talent that would lose to Ilya Dragunov. Now, I know some people may not be, in agreement with that. And I get it because I always feel like the main roster talent, when they do go to NXT, should always be kept extra special because they are on the main roster talent. They are main roster talent. And this, at the end of the day, is a developmental brand. But Ilya Dragunov is not a developmental type of champion. Like Ilya Dragunov has more than proved himself. So I feel like Ilya Dragunov is a little bit of an exception to the rule there. So personally, it's just a matter of finding people for him to actually work with. And that's why I was excited to see this match with Dijak today. I really was excited because it felt new. And that's why I was upset when Joe Gacy had to get involved in this. Jay Stone, thank you so much for the super chat. And you were right from the beginning on that one, my friend. John Deller says, what about those promos for Three Faces? So we were talking about this on the Vengeance Day post-show. The Vengeance Day post-show, myself and Reg. And I know a lot of people are like really excited about like who this can be. Of course, I have no idea who this is, but I know that my gut instinct, though, is telling me that it's probably somebody that is getting a new character change. I'm expecting someone that we probably already know or has been in the PC and is waiting for their moment to get featured on NXT. I think my gut is kind of saying to expect that versus someone completely new from the outside. And I know everybody was mentioning Okada's name. Guys, I know. Like, I'm not even expecting that at all. So I might as well just I don't want to say kill your hope, but I wouldn't say don't hold your breath. There you go. That's what I want to get at. I don't expect that. And I am excited, though, to see who it is, and I hope that it's not a letdown, although it might be. Who knows, man? Who knows? The point is, bring more men. Oh, that sounds really wrong, but bring more men to the NXT world because we need them. We need them. It needs to start raining men in NXT. We need to start raining men in NXT. Benoit says, you know what's funny about that? When you think about this, when you think about that, we're always like pro wrestling, whether you like it or not, is a men's world. Okay, it's a men's world that you're in. It's male dominated in every single aspect that you can think of. apparently accept NXT. So that's why I'm saying this is kind of weird if you think about it. We actually need men. Who would have thought? All right, John Tellers. I already read that one. Sorry. Benoit Richter says Dragunov, Trick, Mello, Dijak, Gacy, Lexus, TLC. That would be kind of cool. I would be down for that. Matt Logan says NXT men top guys are in tags. Baron and Braun is moving up. Exactly. Like we literally just went through the roster and it was very, very noticeable. Like I didn't even realize it honestly until I actually went through all of the names there. But yeah, they're all in tag teams and or are moving up to the main roster like Braun Breaker and possibly Baron Corbin. Like I don't know if Baron Corbin is sticking around on NXT or not, or if Braun Breaker goes up to the main roster. If that means Baron Corbin is going back to the main roster, I do not know what that means for him. So we'll see. Because I have been enjoying Baron Corbin on the NXT side of things. So I wouldn't hate it if he stuck around on NXT, but who knows? I have a feeling they might have plans for them to do something together, just given the way that they are putting so much work into the Wolf Dogs and all of that. Will Chisholm says, my theory is Wendy Chu. Well, here's the thing though. They made it seem like it was a guy though. They kept saying like his face. I think they even said a man. They even said like a man has 3 faces. The one that he shows to, it was like one that he shows to the world, one that he shows to his family, and one that no one sees. Because I was first thinking like, oh, they could mean man, like in a generic sort of way, like a human type of thing. But then I was paying extra attention today and it said he. So I'm expecting a guy. So we'll see. Well, Chisholm, thank you so much for the super chat on that one here. And let's go ahead and see what people are saying. This is from Kaden Crawford, who says, I still can't think of the lower mid card. Probably Shin, Ricochet, Cameron Grimes. They haven't done anything with Cameron Grimes over on the main roster. If they were to have Cameron Grimes go out there and kill it on NXT, it's like, I wouldn't hate it because he did do that. If you guys remember, he did do that fatal 4-way match when it was him, Bronson Reed, and Johnny Gargano not too long ago. And Wesley, which is the one where Wesley got hurt, actually. But they haven't done anything with him on the main roster. That fatal 4-way that we saw with Cameron Grimes is actually probably one of the better things that they've had him do in the last year. But then it sucks at the same time because Cameron Grimes was on NXT for so long, and we were all waiting for him to get his call up. He finally does, and then you don't see him because they have no creative for him. So it's like, what do you do? I don't know, but I wouldn't hate seeing Cameron Grimes go and do some matches with Ilya. Ricochet, I would love that. I think that Ricochet, same thing, another guy that they haven't done too much with over on the main roster. It's been better. Don't get me wrong, but wouldn't hurt him, I think, to go down to NXT and have a match with Ilya and take a loss to Ilya. I know some people might not like that, but it's Ilya Dragunov. I wouldn't mind it. And same thing for Cameron Grimes there. And I don't know about Shinsuke Nakamura. That one kind of, it depends. It depends. Personally, I wouldn't mind it, but I think a lot of fans probably would. All right, so let's go ahead and press on from here and see what else we got. We got more people suggesting other names. We got Christopher here who says it'd be cool if it was Bo Dallas. And let me see if anybody else has any other cool names. Someone says, S. Hill says, what about Apollo Crews? Apollo Crews got called up during the draft, because he's not on the NXT roster. But we haven't seen too much of Apollo Crews. So Apollo Crews versus Ilya Dragunov wouldn't be bad. But when we had when Apollo Crews feuded with Braun Breaker for the NXT championship, the match wasn't bad, but the build-up to the match wasn't great. The match was fine. But it was more so the build-up that was a little bit weird because you just had Braun Breaker and Apollo Crews hanging out with each other. And no one wants to see two guys that are about to go kill each other for for a world title, go out there and be hanging out on a boat together. Maybe that's just me, but I want to see them kind of hate each other, at least be violent before the big matchup. But hey, whatever. Matt Logan says, there's always Duke Hudson. He's just been there and chased you. They just have him standing there. They haven't had him actually really do much either. Again, another person that they just kind of have that's more so a character on the show than anything else. Will Chisholm says, it did say he. I would have thought it might be Julia, but the report of she's going to Rossi's new company for a few months before joining WWE. Yes, so it looks like she is definitely staying loyal to him and is going to help him with that new promotion that he is going to be starting. So maybe wait just a tad bit longer for Julia, for everybody who's waiting there and hoping. Will Chisholm, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. And thank you so much for bringing that up. All right. So, by the way, we got Gaunt Rain here who says, what do you think of Ava Rain getting death threats? So let me tell you, I have a lot of friends that are not wrestling fans. And TMZ posted about The Rock and Cody Rhodes on Instagram. And one of my friends who is like not a wrestling fan, but knows of wrestling and knows who The Rock is and all of that, messaged and said, what did they say? They were like, oh, what happened? Like, what's the controversy, right? And it's like, kind of did a short explanation of the WrestleMania match and Rock and Cody and Roman and all of that. Very, very simple little answer. And my friend responds with, that's it? That's why The Rock's daughter was getting death threats? What? And they were like appalled. Keep in mind, like, this person's not a wrestling fan. So they were appalled at the idea that The Rock's daughter was getting death threats over her dad taking someone's WrestleMania match. So just to give you guys an idea of how it looks from a non-wrestling stand. I mean, it looks bad like as a wrestling fan. It looks even worse when you don't know how extreme sometimes people can be because you're not in the fandom. So there you go. People they take it too far, guys. Some people take it too far, but I feel like that's a small minority of people, and I don't want to say that that's like the whole fandom, because you guys know it. In every walk of life, there's people that are just too extreme, and then it gives a bad rep to like everybody else, like all the normal people out there. And I feel like that's what happens a lot sometimes with pro wrestling. I'm like, nah, like there's a lot of us that are pretty damn normal, you know? We see each other at the shows. We're at the shows, and there's never like I've never had like a bad experience with a fan at a show. Never. You'll get some drunk people here and there, but you get drunk people everywhere. But never like a bad experience where I see people fighting because of some wrestling thing that you would fight about on social media. Like, people don't do that at the events. Like, people are normal, having conversations and having a grand old time. So there you go. All right. Let's go ahead and get into some more of what we're talking about. So let's get back to NXT, since I kind of went on a tangent there. But Will Chisholm says, it might sound crazy, but could it be Tama Tonga, or would you put him on the main roster straight up? Personally, I would say the main roster straight up. But sometimes, you know, they'd be surprising us over in WWE. Like, there's times where I thought that there was somebody that would go to the main roster right away, and then they didn't. That's where I'm at with that. Will Chisholm, thank you so much for the super chat, man. All right, so let's go ahead and get into. So we talked about like the main stuff with that. There was, you know what? Let me get into Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin. So we were talking about them quite a bit, but the Wolf Dogs, they celebrated their Dusty Cup win. And literally, it's funny because I just realized that their friendship is them just trolling each other. And I think that's why we like the Wolf Dogs, because literally real best friends are always just trolling each other, or at least my friends, at least some of my friends. I like to troll people. It's fun. But anyways, but only your besties, right? Sometimes you get along that way. And that's what I like about Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. Anyways, they don't get to say much. They celebrate a little, but that quickly ends because we got a banger of an opening match on NXT. And that was a team of two teams that I very, very much love on NXT. And I have been on especially Malik Blade and Idris and Nofi's boat, because I've been a fan of theirs for quite a bit. And so I'm kind of ready to see them have their moment where they really take off on the show. Like they always go out there, they do phenomenal. Axiom and Nathan Frazier, the beautiful thing about them is that they kind of started off as opponents, having some fun matches between each other. And because they were so similar, they just decided to pair them up as a team. So what you had in this match was two teams that are constantly going out there and doing good work and coming together to just kind of prove why you should care about them. And this was literally just a spot fest, but it was fun. It was a fun spot. I don't think spot fests are ever not fun. But they went out there, man, and they freaking killed it. Like some of the moments that I really enjoyed in this match was, by the way, Nathan Frazier, when he does things, I don't know if it's the hair, but it just looks extra crazy when he does it. You guys know what I'm talking about, man. You've seen it. Anyways, Nathan Frazier doing that standing shooting star press. That was great. Idris loved his love his elbow from the top rope. That was really good because he got some really good height in that. Axiom Spanish fly off the top rope. The Phoenix splash that Nathan Frazier does. That's the one where I always notice it. It's like he's got, I don't know what, man, but dude looks crazy when he does it. Like, it just doesn't look like your ordinary Phoenix splash. Like, it just looks a little bit extra crazy. And I think it might be the hair, honestly. I'm not really too sure, but it looks like there's just like that extra freaking, there's that extra freaking shot in that drink. Let's just say that. I don't know. But the crowd was really, really invested in this match. I thought it was really good. Eventually, Nathan Frazier and Axiom, they get their win, and then the Wolf Dogs attack them. And then Tony D and Stax Lorenzo, they come out, and the challenge is officially made next week already. So they're getting to this fast, guys. We're going to be seeing Tony D and Channing Stax Lorenzo defend their tag team titles against their Dusty Cup winners, Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin. And depending on what goes down in this match might give us an idea as to when we're finally going to officially see Braun Breaker decide whether or not he goes to Raw or to SmackDown, because we've been seeing him on Raw, we've been seeing him on SmackDown. Now we just need to get an actual decision. And then he's doing something totally different on NXT. So it kind of feels like he's living two different lives right now. But eventually that should merge and come together, and we'll all figure it out, see what's going on with Braun Breaker and what this means for Baron Corbin. All right, let's go ahead and get into Lexus King versus Riley Osborne. Again, Lexus King going out there and getting them wins, getting some wins. Good for him. I think he just needs a big program to really kind of get him over the hill here on NXT, because I feel like he came in with so much buzz, but the matches that he has been in hasn't necessarily been, too memorable. So I feel like he just needs a memorable feud, because so far the most memorable thing has been, like, he had a pretty decent match with Carmelo Hayes, and then he had a fun little story, I guess, with Trey Bearhill, but like, we don't really know Trey Bearhill, so I feel like he needs a bigger story on NXT again to get him over the hill. Anyways, he has this match with Riley Osborne, and the big thing from this is that Thea Hale, who has been crushing on Riley Osborne, does not go out to watch his match this time like she normally does. And she doesn't go out there because she's playing hard to get now. JC Jane gave her the advice that she shouldn't make herself too available and that she shouldn't go out there and watch his match. And this ended up costing Riley Osborne the victory, because he kept getting distracted trying to see if Thea Hale would pop up. And so Lexus King took advantage of that, and he wins this match. So that was really the big thing that came out of this. I've been really liking Riley Osborne in the ring, so I like what they're doing with him so far. I have a lot of interest in Riley Osborne as of right now. And then Lexus King, is just a matter of getting him something good, something juicy. But speaking of something good and something, oh shit, I shouldn't have said it that way. Damn. You know what? I thought that was going to be a really good transition, but then I was like, nope. I know everyone's mind is in the gutter, so it wouldn't be a great transition for this particular match. But God damn it, it was good and it was fun and I enjoyed it. And that is Roxanne Perez versus Lola freaking Vice. All right, guys, let's go. good and juicy. God damn it. All right. Roxanne Perez and Lola Vice. So, first of all, I want to say to everybody watching, all the girls on NXT and everybody, even the guys, minus Ilya Dragunov. Minus Ilya Dragunov. There you go. But everybody else needs to pay attention because 10 out of 10, no notes, Lola Vice is bringing the most aggression, aside from Ilya Dragunov, on this show. Lola Vice looks mad every time she does anything in the ring, and I am buying it. I am loving it. I don't want to mess with her because she literally looks like she's going to go out there and rip someone apart. Okay, she looks mean, and I love that. She went out there and she was just like going after Roxanne, and her facial expressions. At one point, the crowd even started chanting, "Be aggressive, be aggressive." This woman is aggressive, and I love it. And I just feel like that is really, really making her feel larger than life. So she may not be like, she goes out there and she does good in the ring, but she may not be like Roxanne Perez good, but she makes up for it with her larger than life presence. And I think that is what's really working with Lola, and how she's coming across as larger than life is through that aggression. And that's what is making me turn and want to look at Lola Vice. Now, I know some of you are going, well, Denise, it's something different for me. Well, for me, it's the aggression, guys. For me, it's the aggression. But they have really good chemistry with each other here in this match with Roxanne and Lola Vice. But for the most part, Lola pretty much got so much in this matchup here, but she kind of ended up getting screwed, which was a little bit random because it was Tatum Paxley, of all people, who came in and acted like she was trying to cash in something that wasn't hers, and she can't even cash in anymore because Lola Vice already cashed it in. So technically that's like null and void at this point. And so she ends up distracting Lola Vice, and so Roxanne Perez hits the Pop Rocks and she gets the win there. But man, I was a big fan of this. That freaking back fist that Lola Vice hit, really good. I'm a fan. But the question is, why did Tatum help out Roxanne Perez in this matchup here? Like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, she was out there attacking Roxanne Perez because she was going after her bestie, Lyra Valkyria, who we didn't see on the show here today. But man, this was good, guys. I'm a fan. I really, really am a fan here. All right, let's see what people are saying here. We have a super chat here, and this is from Jay Hudson. Thank you so much to Jay, who says, you have one ticket to see one of these matches. Jade Cargill versus Bianca. The other is Mercedes versus Athena. Which one are you paying to see? Ooh, that's really hard. I'm going to go with Jade Cargill and Bianca because, well, Bianca Belair is actually my favorite current women's wrestler. So that kind of puts her way up there on my list. And Jade Cargill was so damn impressive in the Royal Rumble that I can't wait to see what else she does, especially in a match and against somebody of the caliber of Bianca Belair. But with that being said, though, Mercedes and Athena would literally kill each other, which is phenomenal. But I'm going to go with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill because the utter spectacularness of all of it would be too grand. It would feel very, very cool. I mean, just that moment when we saw Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill staring at each other from across the ring at the Rumble, everybody was going, oh, hot damn, let's see what's going to happen there. And I spoke to Jade, and she said that, I don't know, she teased making magic, not just across the ring from Bianca, but perhaps even with Bianca. So we'll see what they end up doing with Jade and Bianca. But either way, they could tell some really good stories for at least the years to come between those two. And it's going to be interesting because Bianca Belair, she's right now the girl on WWE that is, she's getting the reality show. She's having all of these big moments. She is on almost every single advertising that they do. She does all of the media events. Jade Cargill is also going to be someone that is highly marketable as well. So it's going to be very cool to also see Jade get some of these opportunities like what you're seeing with Bianca Belair. And then it's like you're going to be seeing this like competition. And what do they say? Iron sharpens iron. Dude, like we're going to be seeing Bianca and Jade do some very, very cool things. And I can't wait for that. Really, really can't wait for that. I also think Jade Cargill has a really good vision of like the things she wants to do, like like not just in wrestling, but outside of wrestling that will benefit her all across the board. So she's got a good vision based on some of the things that she's said in the past in interviews and whatnot. Will Chisholm says, could this be a thing that Roxanne brainwashed her and helps Roxanne win the title at Stand and Deliver full heel turn? You know, I saw a couple people mention that, by the way, on, I forgot if it was here on the chat or on Twitter or something, but I did see a couple of people suggesting that there could be a moment where Tatum decides that all of a sudden she's not working for Lyra. It's not like she's working for Lyra, but maybe she was doing Lyra dirty this whole time and doing Roxanne Perez's evil bidding, thus making Roxanne's full heel turn actually happen, because they've been teasing the heel turn for Roxanne, but she's never actually taken the full turn. So I feel like that would be interesting, and it would kind of explain a little bit as to why she just randomly became so obsessed with Lyra Valkyria. I would actually like to see that, but we'll see what they end up doing. Will, thank you so much for the super chat, man. I appreciate that. All right, so we got a couple more things to get into, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Just a heads up to everybody. I will be back tomorrow for AEW Dynamite. Myself and Reg, we will be here talking about the show. I'm not going to be here on Friday. I don't think so, because I'm going to be in Las Vegas. And for those of you who don't know, I'm going to be there from Thursday through Saturday, and I'm going to be attending a lot of the Super Bowl media events. I'll be at Radio Row, which I'm very, very excited about. Of course, I'll be at the press conference for WWE as well, but on top of that, I'm going to be attending other events and stuff, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing Friday nights, so I don't think I'll be here to talk about SmackDown. And then Saturday, I'm planning on attending Collision on Saturday, so I'll actually be at the show. So that also changes the plans for the post show. But other than that, I'll be back to my normal slate of post shows the following week. So 2 post shows for this week, but don't worry, I'll be back to the normal schedule afterwards. All right, Fallon Henley and Ren Sinclair versus Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. Really, there's only a couple things to say about this one in particular, and that is that Fallon Henley, and I mentioned this earlier, but I mentioned her as one of those names that I would love to see get called up at some point. But Fallon Henley, the thing that I finally was able to describe is that she no longer has the new girl vibe. I think for a long time, Fallon Henley had like the new girl vibe, like she's getting her footing, she's finding out who she is on the show. She comes out with a new type of confidence, and I don't know how many of you guys have picked up on it, but I started to kind of put my finger on it in the last couple of weeks when she got into this program with Tiffany Stratton. I feel the program with Tiffany Stratton was really the program that made Fallon Henley like really stand out on her own. And since then, I feel like she still has that like glow coming off of that feud with Tiffany. And so she just knows who she is now on the show, and it's just a matter of seeing her in these bigger stories. And I mentioned this before, but I do hope we get to see more of her in these big type of stories. And obviously she's been, feuding with Lash Legend for a couple of weeks now. So I did like that, especially because Lash Legend, she is the gem of metaphor. Lash Legend is the thing that I'm most intrigued of when it comes to metaphor, because we've talked about her strength. We've talked about her power. She showed it in this match when she power bombed Ren Sinclair for the actual victory. So that was kind of it there. But I'm going to tie this into what we saw that I ended up loving on the show. And it was this confrontation between Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs. So as you guys recall, freaking Brooks Jensen Josh Briggs and Fallon Henley were all they were all friends. They were hanging out. They broke up. They all decided to go their different directions. Fallon Henley has been doing her own thing. Josh Briggs has been doing his own thing, but we haven't seen too much of Brooks Jensen. And we saw him, I think it was last week, and he kind of approached Fallon, but Fallon was distracted. She was about to head out to a match in which Ren Sinclair accompanied her to the ring. So she was very distracted, didn't even pay much attention to Brooks Jensen. So Brooks decides to approach Josh today, and I freaking loved this, guys. I love this because we had started to notice that maybe he was feeling a little bit sad that he no longer had his friends. So he finally decides to let out his feelings, and he tells Josh, I'm struggling. I need you all. And he says a bunch of other stuff, right? But Josh Briggs puts his arm around him, and I'm going, what's going to happen here? And Josh Briggs does the most savage thing that I want to applaud, because he was damn right. Verbatim. He says, come here. You think being sad is going to help you? You're not a kid anymore. The world doesn't revolve around you. And then he shoves him up against the wall, and he says, learn from Fallon, learn from me, stop living in the past and stand on your own 2 feet. There is a performance center full of athletes ready to take your spot. So you can do 2 things. You can either sit and cry like you're doing right now, or you can grow some damn balls. My friends, copy and paste what Josh Briggs said, and I feel that we can all, including myself, apply this to our everyday life. Sometimes we need tough love, all right? Sometimes we need a good old slap in the face, not an actual verbal one. Not a physical one, a verbal one. A true shaking, and let people know you need to stop lying, stop being a baby, grow up. Grow up. And that is exactly what Josh Briggs did here. That's exactly what he did. All right? And I was a fan of this. I hope this is the wake-up call for Brooks Jensen. I hope we see some changes in him so that because what do we need? What did we discover on this episode? We need more men on NXT. Brooks Jensen, if he, changes things around, works on himself, who knows? Down the line, he could be one of those guys going and competing for the NXT championship. But as of right now, it's still kind of hard to see that. So hopefully they have some good ideas for him on the roster, because that's exactly what I want to see. I want to see, just see him shake things up a little bit. Shake things up again a little bit. I don't want to be mean, but get rid of the mustache. I'll just say it right now. Get rid of the mustache, please. You guys know how I feel about mustaches. Please get rid of it. Other than that, I loved this segment. I really, really, truly did. It was good stuff. Heel Hammer, thank you so much for the super chat, says Coleslaw. Jared says, Josh was so toxic. I hated it. I loved it. Jared, it was so good. It was so good. You ever feel down? When I feel down, I always tell myself, nope, you're wasting time. You're wasting time. You're not going to get anything if you sit here and you cry and you get depressed and sad. What are you doing? You're just wasting time. Be proactive. Do something. And that is exactly what he said to Brooks Jensen, and I agree. Anyways, that was really good, guys. I really enjoyed that. Guys, before we close out this show, so Hunter Tillman is here. Thank you so much to Hunter Tillman, because Hunter Tillman left a really kind review over on Apple Pods. And I have told you guys, if you guys leave a review, I will definitely read it here on the show, because if you guys take the time to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, it really, really means a lot. And it just helps my podcast rank a little higher, helps more people find it. And so I want to thank Hunter Tillman for this review, and I'm going to read it on the air as a huge thank you. He says, The best pro wrestling content. First things first, I started watching Denise when she was doing the ATW podcast with Now All Elite Will Washington. From then on, I began to keep up with all of the interviews, post shows, press conferences, media scrums, etc. She shows a lot of appreciation towards her DWO family, and every time I listen or watch her, I just become more and more impressed. She asks the hard-hitting questions and also on whatever topic she's discussing. She really makes you drive your attention directly on her. I've gotten the pleasure to meet her virtually, and I just honestly could say so many wonderful things about her. A sweetheart, gorgeous on the inside and out, and just all around great person. Thank you for everything you do, Denise. I hope one day we get to meet each other in person and laugh and anything and everything. Keep crushing the game and raising the bar, Hunter Tillman. Hunter, thank you so much for leaving this generous review. When I saw it, I was like, yes. So thank you very much, guys. If any of you enjoy my interviews, my podcast, whatever it is that I post up here, please go share some love on the Apple Podcast page so more people can discover it. Bear Hudson sends in a super chat saying, since you are married, settle this. My best friend's wife is leaving to attend a concert with her girlfriends, but the manager is her ex. Should she go? Wait, hold on. My best friend's wife is leaving to attend a concert with her girlfriend, but the manager is her ex. Should she go? The manager of what? Like her job? Or the manager of like the person that's performing the concert? Hold on, I'm a little confused by the question, Bear Hudson, but based on what I think you're asking, yeah, why shouldn't she go to the concert? Go to the concert, have a good time. Just because her ex is there or isn't there. Let's see, someone's saying, so it's probably part of the band. No, I think that she should, I think she should go. Based on this, just because her ex is there doesn't mean she's going to do anything. So I think she should go to the concert and have a good time. That's my personal opinion on your question. And then Jay Hudson says, I missed their chat. Let me make sure because I thought I read it. Nope, I did read it. Oh, never mind. You sent another one. I'm sorry. Okay, this was the one I didn't read. My apologies. I thought I read it. It says, whose impact will be felt more in their women's division, Mercedes and Deanna, or Jade Cargill and Naomi? And who is Naomi facing at WrestleMania? So I think it's Mercedes for AEW is going to be like absolutely game-changing for sure. So I would say Mercedes for AEW, and then for WWE, Jade Cargill, because they don't have anyone like Jade Cargill. Like she's very, very, she's just phenomenal. Like her physique is phenomenal. All of that. She's got the star power aura to her. And I think she's going to do a lot of good for the women's division. But I would say because there's so many other women that are killing it in WWE, that it feels like Mercedes is probably going to have the biggest impact for the place that she is going to be at. So I'm going to say Mercedes with AEW. Thank you so much, Jay Hudson, and thank you for letting me know about the super chat. And I think now I definitely got all of them. All right, guys. Just making sure I got everything. All right, everyone. Thank you guys so much as always. And please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Check out some of the content that I posted for Royal Rumble weekend. Interviews with Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley 2 times, Bianca Belair 2 times. There's so many. Tiffany Stratton, you guys love her here on NXT. Check her out in that interview with Ludwig Kaiser. And I'm trying to think, there's just so many. Liv Morgan, Dakota Kai. There's a bunch. Go check them out, guys. It would really mean a whole lot to me. And other than that, I will catch you guys back here tomorrow for the AEW Dynamite post show. Bye, everyone.